Hey, ChatGPT, write me a Sjögren Summit speech. If only it were that easy, and no shame, I'll admit that I tried. But I quickly figured out that no AI will ever know what it's like to sit in stirrups after 30 years of undiagnosed issues and be told, you should just try having another baby to give your vagina a fresh start. But also, no app will ever understand the relief, the sense of validation, and the weight that lifts when someone finally listens. When you finally find someone who gets it, and when you finally find your community. So, yes, I had to write this speech myself, but believe me, imposter syndrome was fully upgraded to a disease these last couple weeks while preparing this speech. I kept asking myself, why me? Why would anyone want to hear what I have to say? Or what could I possibly offer that would be meaningful and make any real impact? I'm not a doctor. I'm not an influencer. I don't have fancy initials after my last name like MD or PhD. And though I have been tempted to sign my name, Courtney Whitney, PP, professional patient, I'm really pretty average. I'm a full-time working mom of two kids, dog mom of many, and I married my middle school sweetheart that I met even before Grey's Anatomy ever aired. So, what could I possibly say that matters up here? But after some thought, what I quickly figured out is that there are two words that connect all of us today. Two words that have had me crying in the shower. Two words that have made me question my sanity even more than doctors have. And two words that, ironically enough, brought me a sense of community, validation, and hope. Those two words that bring us all here together today. Sjogren's disease. Whether you're here because you treat it, have it, love someone who does, or are just starting to understand what it means, those two words link all of us. And I have a more complicated relationship with those two words than I do with my in-laws. And trust me, that's a story for another time. After 31 years of searching, the words Sjogren's disease finally gave me some answers, but it also let me know that every single day for the rest of my life, when I looked in the mirror, those two words would be staring back at me. I'll be the first to admit I'm not here today as some polished keynote speaker, and honestly, I really struggled to write this speech until I finally asked myself, what do I wish someone had said to me? What do I wish I could hear someone say out loud? And I realized that the most powerful thing anyone has ever said to me wasn't, you're going to be okay, or you should be grateful it's not worse, or, well, at least you don't look sick. The most powerful thing anyone has ever said to me was, I get it. And honestly, that's really all I'm here to say to you today. If I'm no one else to you, if you forget my name, my face, or even my Instagram handle, I hope you remember this, that there are people out there who get it. Because as supportive as our friends, families, spouses, and even the occasional doctor can be, not many people get it like we do. Unless you find a unicorn, and in this case, her name is Dr. Kara Wada. She also happens to be the reason we're all here today. So thank you so much, Dr. Kara, for having me and for bringing us all together for this wonderful event. But what I would have wanted someone to say to me, and what the rest of this speech is really about, is that I get it. So let this just be your reminder that you were never invisible. You were never crazy. And it was never just in your head. They were just not looking hard enough. And I'm not going to pretend that it didn't take me a very long time to figure that out. I was always the good patient, the polite one, the one who didn't interrupt and who smiled and nodded even when I wanted to scream. Growing up, we're taught to idolize three people: your preacher, your lawyer, and your doctor, because they're educated, they've got degrees, the titles, the authority, and who are you to question them? So when doctors told me it's probably just stress, I smiled and swallowed it like a diagnosis. I even took it as a compliment when they said, "Oh, you're too young to be in this much pain," or "You're too pretty to be this sick." as if compliments canceled out my symptoms, and as if looking okay on the outside meant my body wasn't falling apart on the inside. Funny side note. Actually, at one point, I started dressing down for doctor's appointments. I mean, yesterday's mascara smudged under my eyes, no makeup, like looking as rough as I could, because maybe, just maybe, if I looked sick on the outside, they'd finally start taking me seriously. Instead, they asked if I'd been drinking or doing drugs. So, still not taken seriously, just taken somewhere else entirely. Let me be very clear on something. Looking healthy doesn't mean you're healthy. Looking healthy doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you'll be believed or mean you'll be treated. Sometimes looking healthy means you'll be erased. Because when you don't look sick, you're not seen as someone who needs help. You're seen as someone who's exaggerating. You don't get the care that you deserve. Instead, you get questioned, doubted, dismissed, and discharged. And over time, you start to do those exact same things to yourself. You stop pushing for answers. You shrink your questions. You space out appointments. And you start to wonder, am I imagining this? Is it really that bad? Maybe I am making this up. And that right there, that is the most dangerous part of all of this. Not the disease, but the doubt. Since I can remember, I was convinced I was dying or that I had some sort of secret, undiscovered illness, but I felt invisible. I never felt heard. I didn't feel seen, not by doctors, teachers, specialists, not even by myself. They say hindsight is 2020, and when I look back, the signs were everywhere. We can trace my Sjögren symptoms all the way back to as young as when I was 3 years old. Cue that endless toxic referral cycle we all know too well. As a kid, I had constant nosebleeds. I was nauseous all the time. Doctors called it anxiety, behavioral, attention seeking. And I'll never forget there was a time I threw up in my mom's purse at Toys R Us, and a doctor told her I just made myself do it to get a toy. Another doctor told her that I was trying to get out of school and that I just needed a better routine. I had UTI after UTI, bladder infection after bladder infection, so they sent me to an OB as a child. One doctor suggested that I was most likely experiencing abuse because how else could a little girl have those kinds of symptoms? No one ever considered it could be autoimmune, and no one ever thought to test beyond the obvious. We were left scared and no answers, and to navigate all of this all on our own. I had a sore throat that never seemed to go away, so they referred me to an ENT. My tonsils were so inflamed, so swollen, that one doctor looked down my throat and actually asked if I had swallowed a pair of testicles, and then deemed that my tonsils were too large to remove. Instead of treating or even investigating the cause, he handed me a prescription for allergy meds and sent me on my way. Around that same time, my teeth started chipping before I even made it to middle school. I was referred to an endodontist, and I remember I spent so much time in that chair, I can describe ceiling tiles from memory. Over and over again, they kept fixing what broke without ever stopping to ask why it was breaking in the first place. Then came the skin issues, cystic acne. With even the lightest touch, my skin would immediately welt up like I'd been branded like cattle. Cue the referral to a dermatologist. He ran a full allergy panel, and when nothing came back, his solution was simple: stop scratching and put her in a bubble. He joked. He handed me a bottle of anti itch lotion and prescribed a second allergy pill and sent me on my way. I was basically the living, breathing Peggy Ann McKay poem from Shel Silverstein, except none of it was faked. My joints are stiff, my throat's on fire, my body is one big funeral pyre. My cheeks are flushed, my throat is raw, there's something creaking in my jaw. And my circulation was always awful. My hands and feet were either white or purple, there was no in between. My lips were cracked, my mouth constantly dry, no matter how much water I drank. So naturally, I started carrying around lip gloss and a water bottle with me everywhere I went, like they were medical equipment. But people teased me for it, called me high maintenance, bougie, ridiculous, told me that I had to work on myself and my self confidence. But it was never about vanity, it was always about survival. In gym class, I never sweat. Teachers accused me of not working hard enough that one even strapped a heart rate monitor on me for an entire semester so she could prove I wasn't trying. When it showed my pulse was through the roof, I still got labeled as dramatic and accused of somehow faking the results. I was tired all the time. I went home during free periods just to sleep, and I'm not talking just sleepy. This was a bone deep cellular level exhaustion. The kind of tired that makes it feel like your whole body is walking through wet cement. I started drinking Starbucks in the third grade just to function. Like, no joke. My first email address was Starbucks Babe 22. When it came time to go to college, I figured maybe a change of scenery would help. Born and raised in Wisconsin, I thought a new climate, a new pace, maybe even just some sunshine might finally make me feel better. So I packed up my Midwestern roots and moved to Florida, hoping the palm trees could do what doctors hadn't. And let me just say, Florida did not help. If anything, it made everything so much worse. Because when your body doesn't sweat, Florida isn't paradise, it's a punishment. I was constantly irritable, foggy, and so drained, just miserable for most of the year. The humidity made everything worse, and when your body is already struggling, Florida just pushed me past my breaking point. And the worst part, there was no relief ever. Outside, the heat was unbearable, but inside, the AC was cranked so high and so dry, it made my eyes burn and my skin crack. No matter where I was, my body couldn't catch a break. They tested me for mono so many times at the campus clinic. I swear I hold a world record. And when it wasn't mono, the question was always, well, could you be pregnant? And when it wasn't pregnancy, they told me that it was about time I lay off the boys and the booze. I even remember a time when my labs actually weren't normal. My red and white blood cell counts were all over the place. Finally, something doctors admitted was off. So they ran tests again, repeat panels, the same standard blood work, the same basic scans. And when they didn't find cancer, they stopped looking. Because in their eyes, if it wasn't cancer, if it wasn't deadly, if it wasn't urgent, it wasn't worth figuring out. And if it wasn't obvious, it probably wasn't real. By the time I reached adulthood, I had already learned how to carry it all quietly, constantly, without making, well, at least too much of a scene. I managed daily headaches after a doctor casually told me that I could take up to 12 Tylenol a day. And if that worked, then there was nothing serious to worry about. I battled relentless dry eye, cycling through punctal plugs, Restasis, ointments, warm compresses, whatever might take the edge off. Managing one symptom at a time, but all of them at once. But over time, all of it, the pain, trial and error, the constant effort, just became my normal. And after a while, I was convinced I was healthy, that this was just how it was. Maybe everything I was dealing with was, in fact, just part of being a woman, a student, an adult. Maybe this was all normal to deal with. Maybe. Fast forward after college, and I remember one day waking up in the morning and actually feeling better. I was energized, no headaches, no nausea. It honestly felt like I'd waken up in a brand new body. That was the day I found out I was pregnant with our daughter. And it turns out that's actually a real thing with autoimmune diseases. Pregnancy can actually suppress the immune system for a while because your body knows it's carrying something foreign and it has to back off a little to protect the baby. So, for some people like me, that constant internal attack, the inflammation, flares, exhaustion, it pauses just enough to feel like a reset. But after my daughter was born, that short lived respite vanished. And what followed was 6 straight years of chronic vaginal infections. And I don't mean the UTI, it hurts when I pee infections. I mean, can't sit down, can't put down, razor blade fire ant invasion 24/7, burning, itching, stabbing in your underwear. It was a nonstop carousel of yeast infections and bacterial superinfections, a nonstop carousel of swabs, scrapes, cultures, procedures. And still, doctors just kept throwing treatments at it, like, let's try this again anyway. Maybe your husband's cheating on you. Let's run another STI panel to find out. I tried everything. Every cream, every pill, every procedure, every pelvic floor specialist I could find. And then 6 years in with my sixth OB, he looked me straight in the face and said, completely serious, you should probably consider having another baby to give your vagina a fresh start. And I was so desperate. He took my IUD out that day, and we did. We had our son. And while I'm so grateful for him every single day, I'm so sickened by the desperation that led to him. That I was in so much pain with so few answers that having another baby was the only option left. And sure enough, the moment my son was born, everything came roaring back. Like my body had been waiting, holding it all in. And the second that baby was out, it unleashed every symptom I had and was trying to manage to survive my entire life. Not slowly, not subtly, but with a vengeance. Okay, just take a pause with me for a second. I would like you all to take 10 seconds, put in some eye drops, sip your water, lubricate, medicate, whatever your body needs right now. I'm going to do the same. I told you I get it. Okay, ready? We'll come back. Let's keep going. So after that, I fired that OB and I honestly, I swore I was done. I was so fed up, just so burnt out. I told myself I'd never schedule another doctor's appointment again. But then, in one last burst of desperation, I made a Hail Mary appointment with someone new, someone who happened to be nearby and honestly just had the soonest availability out of anyone in our area. I walked into the office already so defeated, hopeless, convinced this would be yet another dead end. But the moment I stepped into her exam room, something felt different. She had this giant magnifying glass strapped to her head like a jeweler. She had microscopes on every counter, and the vibe was much more old school science lab than modern OB clinic. At one point, I genuinely looked around and thought, like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, am I being punked? Before even asking me to gown up, she told me she had already read through my entire chart, and she sat down next to me. She started asking questions about everything: the water I drank, my personal care products, my sex life, my gut, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, every single part of me. And somewhere between explaining my lip balm and my eating habits, I grew really annoyed and impatient. I snapped a little and said, aren't I just here to talk about my vagina? She looked me straight in the face and said, I think you have Sjögren's disease. I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline, half expecting her to say it was just another fancy medical term for being a hypochondriac. I was bracing myself to be dismissed and discharged again. But instead, she rolled over her stool to her microscope and turned the screen towards me and said, let me show you. She first pulled up an image of a healthy cell, round, full, hydrated, like a tiny pearl. This is a healthy cell, she explained. She then had me gown up and did a vaginal scrape right there in the room, swabbed my cells onto a plate, and placed it under a microscope, and told me to take a look for myself. My cells were shriveled, dried out. It looked like a kindergartner tried to draw a flower with a crayon that was broken. And she said, this isn't an infection. This is dryness. This is Sjögren's. And she started explaining what it actually meant, that what Sjögren's really is, that it's an autoimmune disease where the body attacks its own moisture producing glands, its own cells, its own tissues, and it can impact every part of you, internal, external, head to toe. And suddenly everything just started to click. I felt like I was time traveling through my own life, going back through the fatigue, infections, skin reactions, exhaustion, all the things that no one could ever explain finally made sense. There's no cure, she said. But in that same breath, she said, I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to give you tools. Let's talk about options. And we're going to discuss ways to manage this. So you're not doing this alone. Honestly, I barely registered the part about there being no cure because in that moment, all I felt was relief. I'd walked into her office on 12 prescriptions and I walked out with none. I didn't walk out empty handed though. I walked out with a plan. My instructions were to go to a grocery store, pick up coconut oil, baking soda, and Florigen probiotics, to then focus on gut health, to support my body instead of just suppressing my symptoms. She explained to me that inflammation isn't just a symptom, it is a signal, and that supporting my immune system didn't necessarily mean shutting it down. She said that healing wouldn't come from a magic pill. It would come from layering support step by step. She didn't just name my disease, she gave me a way forward. She helped me work through every system, head to toe, inside out, skin, eyes, mouth, vaginal, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, nervous system, immune support. And even though she was technically an OB, she never limited herself to that title. She treated my whole body and she treated me as a whole person. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel crazy. I felt seen. And honestly, how messed up is that? That getting diagnosed with a chronic, incurable disease felt like a victory. That after being dismissed for so long, just being believed felt like a win. I remember walking out of her office thinking I deserved a flash mob, confetti, t-shirt cannons, a parade of nurses high-fiving me down the hallway. Because after 30 years of gaslighting and guesswork, I finally had answers. I had a name and I had proof that it wasn't all in my head. Slowly, after heeding her advice and guidance, I started to feel good. Not just like I was surviving, but that I was actually living for the first time in my life. And for the next 2 years, I thrived. I went from feeling like I'd had mono every day since birth to having the energy of a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. I was a more present mom, a more present wife, and a more present me. My symptoms were under control, my skin cleared, my energy was up, and I had built a rhythm that actually worked. It all finally felt manageable. Was it a lot of maintenance? Absolutely. I had a full on laundry basket for my supplements, and my phone was basically my medical assistant, setting alarms for hydration, pills, probiotics, appointments, you name it. But for the first time, it didn't all feel pointless. And a huge part of that was her. She didn't just give me a diagnosis, she gave me a partner, a helpline, and a resource I could actually rely on. When something stopped working, I could pick up the phone and say, this isn't helping anymore. This has gotten worse. And she'd listen, not dismiss, not deflect. And then she would try to fill in the gaps. To this day, I can't fully explain what that did for me. And words will never be able to describe the true impact she made and how grateful I am to have found her. She saved my life and she helped me reclaim my life, or what I was calling a life at that time. She gave me clarity, stability, and a sense of control I hadn't ever felt my 31 years of life. I swear I was going to hold myself together, people. And then, like a punch to the gut, only 2 years after my diagnosis, she announced her retirement. I knew it was coming, but it still felt like the ground shifted beneath me when I got that call and that letter because this wasn't just about losing a provider. It was about losing the one person who had helped me put all the pieces of the puzzle together, who had treated me like a whole person, not just a checklist of symptoms, a person who I'd searched for 31 years. And while I was still reeling from that, the next curveball hit. My company announced a mandatory return to office policy. I've been working remotely since 2020, building a life around routines and rhythms that help me manage this disease. Working from home wasn't some cushy benefit. It was the only way I could stay regulated, functional, and sane. I was able to submit an accommodation request to keep working from home, and she wrote the most thoughtful, detailed letter to support it. She explained my symptoms, the day to day realities of living with Sjogren's, and why being able to control my environment was critical. That things like hydration, rest, bathroom access, and structured routines simply were not compatible with a fluorescent lit office and a 9 to 5. That letter went before a corporate medical review board, and it was approved. I was officially allowed to stay remote. I remember the breath I took in that moment, the relief, the way my shoulders drooped. Maybe I thought that I could still hold this all together. And just a few weeks after that, I was laid off. No warning, no explanation, just a corporate restructure. I was a top performer, glowing reviews, and just like that, gone. In the span of 1 month, I lost my doctor, my job, and my insurance. Every bit of stability I had worked so hard to build was gone. I was right back where I started. No care team, no coverage, no plan, just me managing a complex disease with nothing but guidance my doctor had given me up until that point. And as much as I wanted to keep her on speed dial forever, there are so many quick questions you can send a retired doctor before it turns into restraining order territory. And I really didn't want to go there. So I did what every desperate patient eventually does. I turned to Google, to Reddit, to Facebook groups and forums, and late night rabbit holes filled with contradictions and chaos, miracle cures, detox scams, and a whole lot of noise. But when you lose your lifeline, you start reaching for anything that might keep you afloat. I wasn't looking for magic pills. I wasn't looking for a cure in a bottle or a pitch from someone's cousin's brother's essential oil side hustle. I just wanted the truth. I wanted to hear from real people, real stories, people who actually knew what Sjogren's was. And maybe, if I was really lucky, they even knew how to spell it. I just wanted to hear someone say, "Yes, girl, I see you. I get it. You are not alone. I've got you." But when I couldn't find it, I just took a chance and created it. I opened an Instagram account and called it Sjogren's Girls Guide. Just a tiny corner of the internet where I could be honest, where I could say things that no one talks about in exam rooms, and where I could finally stop pretending I was fine. At first, it was just small posts, vent sessions, quiet observations, raw moments, and symptoms I thought that was the only one in the world dealing with. And then one day, someone commented, IYKYK, IYKYK. I had no idea what that meant, and I actually had to Google it. But when I read the words, "if you know, you know," something clicked. If you know, you know. And I was like, wait, you do know. You do get it. Suddenly, I wasn't screaming into the void anymore. This was my space. These were my people. This was my community. These were the people who got it. And that changed everything. Because if you know, you know. You know the things that sound completely insane to anyone else, but in your head, there's just no better way to explain it. The things that most doctors don't understand or dismiss entirely, but then you find someone who hears you and says, "Oh my gosh, exactly. Yes, girl, I get it." And suddenly you're not crazy and you're not alone. That's what this is. And that's the gift that the Sjogren's Girls Guide community gave me. Not a cure, not a fix, but a space where I didn't have to explain myself. A space where I could go and just say, if you know, you know. And people actually did. What it's like to peel your eyelids open in the morning because they glued shut overnight. If you know, you know. What it's like to carry so much in your purse, you could easily be Mary Poppins understudy. Sjogren's guys, I don't know how you function on just pockets, but kudos to you. If you know, you know. What it's like to be told it's just a yeast infection while it still feels like razor blades and fire ants have invaded your lady garden. If you know, you know. What it's like to hear, but you don't look sick and have to resist the urge to scream. If you know, you know. What it's like to take a bite of food and wonder, is that a bone or another piece of my tooth? If you know, you know. What it's like to be called bougie and high maintenance because someone caught you putting on your 27th layer of lip gloss. If you know, you know. What it's like when your nose runs and it's a 50-50 shot whether or not it's snot or blood. If you know, you know. And what it's like every single day to feel like you're fighting not to split open, both physically as your skin cracks and emotionally as you carry the weight of all of this inside you. If you know, you know. What it's like to finally have someone say, "Oh my God, yes, girl, I get it." If you know, you know. And that relief, that hit me hard. It's this huge rush of validation and recognition, but it's immediately followed by heartbreak because suddenly you realize they've lived it too. You feel seen and understood and not crazy for once, but it comes with the sting of knowing that someone else has had to carry this same pain. And that kind of knocks the wind out of you because, as comforting as those words are, they also mean you're not the only one who's been dismissed, not the only one silently breaking in a body that looks fine on the outside. That kind of knowing, it connects you, but it also cuts deeper than you can ever imagine. This disease is brutal and it breaks you open in ways you never expected. But not being alone, that changed everything for me. And that's what built this Sjogren's Girls Guide community. It's not just a page, it's not a project, it's my therapy, my safe space, my lifeline every single day. Because sometimes the best answers don't come from a textbook. They come from someone in Oklahoma or Spain that messages and says, yes, that exact same thing. I've felt that too. And suddenly, when I started asking for help, people started showing up, not with judgment, but with suggestions, with love, with lived experience. Mary in Florida told me to try heated eye masks at night. Tara swore by turmeric and fish oil and taught me which supplements were actually worth trying. Jules told me to put my eye drops in the fridge for an extra boost of relief. Just little things, but the kind of little things that saved me from hours of trial and error and guinea pigging my way through every product on the internet. That's what this page became. Not a cure, not a prescription pad, but a place to pass on the things that helped. A place to share what we've learned the hard way so maybe someone else doesn't have to. The place to vent about things no one else on the planet can understand. A place to have people say, I get it, and say, if you know, you know. And they actually do. And let's just say it, this is fucking hard. Okay? We're told to be fine, but we're anything but. We're told to be consistent with our meds, our routines, our protocols, but also be flexible and adaptable when our bodies randomly shift or when a supplement that worked for 6 months just stops. We're expected to look put together even when our skin is literally cracking at the seams. to keep showing up for everyone else, even when no one's showing up for us. There's no pretty reframe here, no filter or forced silver lining to soften this. Because this disease doesn't just hit your glands or your joints, it hits your everything: your marriage, your friendships, your finances, your confidence, your job, your parenting, your ability to be intimate, to make plans, to function like everyone else seems to do just fine. It changes how you think, how you rest, how you breathe, how you exist. And if you're in the thick of it right now, whether you're still waiting for answers, still waiting for a diagnosis, still being dismissed like it's a full-time job, this next part is for you. Because I wish someone had said these three things to me when I was unraveling. Number one, give your body space and grace. Your body isn't betraying you, it's not broken, it's not lazy, it's begging to be heard. Those symptoms that feel like sabotage, they're your body waving a white flag saying, please, I'm tired. I can't keep up. So stop fighting it. Give it water, give it rest, give it gentleness, even when no one else ever has. Even when the world around you is screaming, bounce back, hustle harder, push through, you don't have to. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to heal without performing strength. Number two, adopt a so what mentality. Didn't shower today? So what? Didn't get out of bed before noon? So what? Forgot that appointment, cried in the school pickup line. So what? You're still here. You're still trying, and that counts. Sometimes survival is the win. Sometimes brushing your teeth before bed is the win. Sometimes crawling out of bed onto the couch is progress. And guess what? That's enough. You are enough. Number three, let go of the guilt. The mom guilt, the partner guilt, the I should be doing more guilt, the guilt for not being who you used to be. Let it go. You're not failing. You are building a new normal in a body that you're still learning how to live in. And that's not weakness, that's resilience. That's love in motion. And if anyone makes you feel small for adjusting your life to fit your reality, that says a lot more about them than it does about you. Your value is not in what you produce, not in how clean your kitchen is, not how many thank you cards you did or didn't send, not in your lab work or your body size or whether or not you look sick. Your value is in your presence, your honesty, your ability to keep going, even when everything hurts. And honestly, it's no wonder so many of us are trauma bonded to all these medical dramas like Grey's Anatomy, The Resident, The Good Doctor, The Pit, because at least there, someone listens. Sure, it's fiction. Sure, the doctors all look like Calvin Klein models with six packs. Side note, I've never had a doctor look like that, but if you have, we definitely need to talk. But it's not even about the abs. It's about imagining a world where someone takes one look at your chart and says, oh my God, I see it. I believe you. I've got you. And it's fantasy, but my God, it shouldn't be. Let's talk about bras for a minute. Just bear with me. I know it sounds like a weird segue, but trust me, we're going to go somewhere with this. And if you're a Sjögren's guy, pretend it's a jockstrap. I can't speak from personal experience, but I imagine it's just as uncomfortable. So, this is a virtual summit, so please only do this if you're safe and seated. Don't close your eyes if you're driving or chopping vegetables or wrestling a toddler. But if you're somewhere quiet, somewhere still, please just go ahead and close your eyes. Just for a minute, just go somewhere with me. Take a deep breath and picture this. There's a bucket in front of you. That bucket holds every single heavy thing you've been carrying. I want you to start pulling each of those things out one by one And picture yourself shoveling them into your bra or your jock strap. Again, I can't speak for storage logistics, but do your best, gentlemen. Every single memory, every single hardship, every single moment you've carried alone, I want you to take out of the bucket and put it in the bra. The doctor who's told you it's just anxiety, in the bra. Your underwire is already pinched. The insurance denial that made you cry in the CVS parking lot, in the bra. The straps are starting to dig a little deeper. The birthday party you missed because you couldn't get out of bed, in the bra. The $300 eye drops that burned like fire and didn't help, yeah, in the bra. The appointment you waited 8 months for just to be told your labs are normal, in the bra. The friend who stopped texting back after the third time you canceled plans, in the bra. The grief of not being the parent or the partner you dreamed of being, in the bra. The PTO meeting you volunteered for, even though you didn't have enough PTO to cover your next appointment, shovel it in the bra. The side effects, the second opinions, the ER visits, the gaslighting, the school pickup breakdown, the doctor who said you're just stressed, in the bra. The shame, the fear, the loneliness, the questions that never get answered, in the bra. Now, that bra or jockstrap right now is tight. It's stretching, it is sore, it's burning and busting at the seams. It's itchy, scratchy, and riding up in places that don't need to be written. It's digging into your back, your chest, so much you might actually be bleeding from the underwire. And still, you're sitting here pretending it's fine until you physically can't carry it anymore because you were never meant to carry this much. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. But right now, with me, take a deep breath and take it off. Like literally, like let it go. Unhook it, pull it off, breathe. Let it drop down to the floor with everything you just shoved inside. I mean, who am I kidding? This is a virtual summit, so we should all be at home, and none of us should be wearing bras to begin with. But if you are, and if you really want to lean into this moment, now's your time. Permission granted. Feel that release. Feel your ribs expand. Feel your lungs fill. Feel your shoulders drop for the first time all day. Feel the weight you didn't even realize you were holding as it leaves, as you let go of the medical bills, the boss, the fight with your mom, the grudge with your spouse, the email from that a-hole customer asking the impossible, the laundry piling up, the to-do list that keeps on going when you're pretty sure you can't do anymore. This disease, my God, this damn disease. Take it off. Because that right there, that's what this community is. Is someone whispering, I've got you. I get it. I see you. Yes, Queen, you're not crazy. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. We've got this together. Even when we as individuals feel weak, our warrior army is strong. And that's what the Sjogren's Girls Guide community is. And hey, when all else fails, when the doctor gaslights you, when your labs are normal, but your body is screaming, when you're crying on the bathroom floor, wondering if it's all in your head, I just want you to try to remember one thing. Fuck it. Yes, you heard me. Fuck it. Fuccit. Fuck it. The F is for forgiveness. Start with you. Forgive yourself for all the times you didn't know what your body was trying to say, for the days you pushed too hard, for the times you blamed yourself instead of the system that failed you. Give yourself grace. You deserve it. You, understanding. Your pain is real. Your experience is valid. And even if no one else gets it, start by meeting yourself with compassion instead of criticism. And remember, Your normal might look completely different from everyone else's, and that's okay. There's no one size fits all when it comes to healing. The first C is for care, not just for others, but for you. You can't pour from an empty casket. Care for yourself like you would care for your child, your friend, your dog, or your favorite houseplant that only drinks filtered water. You are worth that kind of care. The second C, consistency, not perfection, just showing up for yourself, listening to your body, taking the meds, saying no, saying yes, saying not today. You don't have to do everything, but just don't give up on you. The I is for intuition. Trust your gut always. You know more than you've been led to believe. And if something feels off, it probably is. You are the expert on your body, and you don't need a white coat to prove it. And finally, always remember that we are in this together and that there are people who get it. Even when you feel alone, I promise you're not. The more we speak up, the more we find each other, the stronger we all become. Vulnerability is contagious, and so is this community. So, next time someone tries to minimize your pain, next time your body throws you another curveball you didn't ask for, or next time you wonder if you're just too much, just say, fuck it. That's your new mantra, your new battle cry, your new survival strategy. Because when you live with Sjogren's disease, you no longer need to prove to anyone that you're strong. We all already are well aware that you are. There's a Hawaiian tradition for saying goodbye to someone you love, and it's not just a farewell, it's a full body forgiveness practice. You say, I love you, thank you, I forgive you, please forgive me. For the longest time, I thought that was something you only said to someone else, a parent, a partner, someone who left you, someone who hurt you. But what I've learned is that sometimes you have to say it to yourself. So today, tonight, say it. Whether it's out loud, in your head, whispered through tears, say it however you need to. I love you. I love you for surviving, for waking up today, for being here even when it's brutal. Thank you. Thank you for what your body still tries to do, for holding it together when no one else sees the cracks. I forgive you. I forgive you for the days you couldn't keep up, for the moments you lost your cool, for the versions of yourself you're still grieving. And please forgive me. Please forgive me for the way you've spoken to yourself, for the pressure you've carried, and for not listening sooner. Say it on the hard days, the high pain days, the mascara streaked, soul weary days. Say it on the days you cancel plans, the day you parent from the couch, the days you wonder if you're broken. Say it especially when it feels awkward. And say it because you deserve peace. Say it because healing isn't linear, but self love can be intentional. You're allowed to grieve what was, but you're also allowed to love what still is. You were never invisible. They just weren't looking hard enough. Thank you so much.